This prophecy is not about a future Antichrist. It's not about a secret rapture. And it's definitely not just for the Jews. What Jesus said in Matthew 24 already happened. And yet, it still speaks to us today. Let's unpack this word by word. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you've ever read Matthew 24 and felt confused, don't worry, you're not alone. But today, we're going to walk through verses 15 to 28, slowly, carefully, and with no systems attached, just pure Bible. Let's start with verse 15. So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. What's this about? Jesus is pointing us back to the book of Daniel. Daniel spoke of a moment when something utterly offensive would stand in God's temple, something so wicked it causes desolation. Now, if you were living in the first century and heard Jesus say that, you'd be thinking of Jerusalem. You'd be thinking of the temple. And that's exactly what happened. In AD 70, the Roman army marched into Jerusalem, set the temple on fire, and according to historical records, they brought their pagan banners and idols right into the holy place. That was it. The temple was desecrated and then destroyed. Now listen to verse 16. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Notice the location, Judea. Jesus is giving a localized warning. Not global, not symbolic, literal. He's talking to people who will actually see this happen and he's telling them, run. In fact, in verses 17 to 20, he gives even more urgent instructions. If you're on the rooftop, don't go back inside. If you're in the field, don't grab your coat. Woe to those who are pregnant. Pray it doesn't happen in winter or on a Sabbath. That's how serious it was. And guess what? The early Christians listened. History tells us that many believers fled to the mountains of Pella, just like Jesus said, and they were spared. Now verse 21 is where it gets intense. For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will again. This isn't talking about a generic hard time. This is the Great Tribulation, and it happened during the siege of Jerusalem. Historian Josephus described it as the worst tragedy to ever strike the Jewish people. Over 1 million died. There was famine, fire, betrayal, even cannibalism. It was beyond anything they had ever known. But then we come to verse 22, one of the most powerful moments. Unless those days were cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. Now let's pause here. Who are the elect? Some people say it's just the Jews. Others say it's only the church. But the Bible is clear. The elect are all of God's people, Jew and Gentile, anyone who follows Christ and belongs to Him. And in that moment, whether you were Jewish or Gentile, living in Jerusalem, if you were part of God's elect, God made sure there was a way out. Those days were cut short, and the believers who fled were preserved. Now Jesus switches gears in verses 23 to 26. If anyone says to you, look, here's the Christ, or there he is, don't believe it. Why? Because in times of crisis, false hope spreads like wildfire. People look for messiahs, saviors, miracles. But Jesus says, don't fall for it. There will be false Christs, false prophets, even miraculous signs. But it's all deception. Even the elect could be tricked if it were possible. So how do we know it's really Him? Verse 27 makes it clear. For just as lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. When Jesus returns, it won't be secret. It won't be in a desert. It won't be in some hidden room. It will be undeniable, visible, global. And finally, verse 28. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. A strange saying, but here's what it means. Where there's death, judgment follows. It's a picture of divine judgment, and in context, it describes Jerusalem lying in ruins, surrounded by death and decay after rejecting their Messiah. So what do we learn from this passage? Jesus wasn't giving us vague symbolism. He wasn't promoting a future 7-year timeline. He was warning His people, both Jew and Gentile, about a real judgment that really came. And He was also preparing us for what's ahead. There will be tribulation, there will be deception, but there will also be a return, a glorious, undeniable return of the Son of Man. Did that clear things up for you? Drop your thoughts below. And if you've never read Matthew 24 this way before, tell me what stood out most. Don't forget to like, share, and make sure you're subscribed because we're going even deeper in the next one. See you there.